that. Or over here like this, that's all right. That records you.
Oh.
So,
That's what I say, huh?
yeah, that way I don't have to take too many notes. It saves me a lot of work.
Right. I said I have to be careful what I say.
Well, it won't be used against you. Mr. Bosselman, Freddie Bosselman, you know Freddie, wants to do a company history.
Oh.
And he said, my name is Bill Arendt. He said, Bill, will you do one for me? I'm a writer. I used to write for the World Herald, that sort of thing. So I said, yes, I will. And I want to talk to some people who know the family. And it goes way back. Even back to Dick Schroeder, whom I think you've heard of.
The Reverend Schroeder, he was the first minister here.
Yeah, okay. And he's the one who named the town of Worms, I think.
Yeah,
Well, okay. Well, I'd just like to, I won't take too long, but I'd like to talk to you a little about your early remembrances of the Bosselman family.
Well, my memory is getting shorter all the time.
I'm sure it's going to do well.
But I don't know no dates on them.
No. We'll figure those out.
But Carson Bosselman, that's Freddie's grandfather, and his Uncle John, they came to Michigan first.
Yes.
And I really don't know now why they came, but their name was Bosselman.
Yes, and that was spelled
Borstleman.
Yeah, Bosselman. Somehow it got changed to Bosselman.
Well, Russia and Germany have always been.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of them coming across, And I think that they changed it to Bosselman so they couldn't trace up on them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And
that was a common practice in those days, I imagine.
Well, a lot of them don't care to go to war.
Yeah, they got out of the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I don't know now when they come up here. But my grandfather, Crowwood Wagner, he came over here in 1879.
Okay.
And Mama, she was the oldest, and she was 14 years old when they came across, and she got seasick.
Yeah.
And it just bothered her the whole life.
Is that right?
She couldn't even sit in a rocking chair.
Years
ago, the roads were so bumpy.
Yeah.
And them bumpy roads made her sick,
Yeah. Where did your grandfather Wagner settle then?
Where he lived?
Yeah.
From this corner east here.
Oh, he was an early settler out here in the area. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's
Did he come directly from Germany to here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he did.
Yeah.
And I just can't tell the exact mile in a little better. There's a creek, a Fern Creek, in a bridge there.
Okay.
And he built up right on the south side of the creek there.
Okay.
And
how many acres did he have? Do you remember?
well, they took timber claims.
Yeah.
And I think they always got 160 acres. I'm not sure. And see, one section was a timber claim, and the next was a government.
Yeah.
And that's the way it went all the way across. And when you took a timber claim, you had to plant a certain amount of trees. And then you got the land free.
Okay.
And then...
all right. So then, Karsten and Uncle John, or Dick, however we call him, came out here from Michigan about that same time.
I think about the time when Grandpa came. And then my father came over in 1881. And that's when then their brother came across, Adolf.
Adolf Bosselman came.
Bosselman.
Bosselman, all right, yeah, okay.
And he was going to take a timber claim this side of Chapman.
Yeah.
I don't know just exactly, but it was sandy soil.
Yeah.
And he didn't have no idea what sandy soil was.
Yeah.
And he with his wife and 2 small children. And one morning he says, I'm going to go to work and dig a well so we have some water. And so she went out there and called them for dinner. And he says, I want to throw out a couple more shovelfuls and then I'll come. And she waited and waited. He didn't come. And so she thought, I'd better go out and see why he ain't coming. Well, he didn't know what sandy soil was going to do, you know. He maybe could have done it here, put a shovel up on the side and wanted to climb out. It caved in. All that stuck out was just his head with his mouth wide open, and he was gone.
He was gone.
What was she going to do with 2 small children? No close neighbors or nothing. So she had to walk across the prairie then to the closest neighbors. I have an idea it was a mile or more. And so then I guess they went to work and tried to notify his brothers.
Yeah.
Carson. See, Carson was the first place right east over here.
Yeah.
And then John lived over this way. And then they was going to try to get him out, and then it started coming again. And they said, I think we better just leave him before anybody else loses their life.
Yeah.
We'll get him in get a preacher, and we'll bury him right here. And then they cut a couple sticks, nailed them together, and made a cross and marked the grave.
I'll be done. Okay.
And well, they couldn't leave her there with them small children, you know, by herself.
No.
And so they brought her along over. And see, Carson Bosselman was right over here, and then Charles, he was next place. And then Max Wagner, I can't remember now what his folks' names was.
Yeah.
But he was born over here.
Yeah.
But he had 4 or 5 brothers and sisters, you know.
Yeah.
And they lived just right south of Carson Bosselman.
Now, Carson, was Carson he was a conservationist, wasn't he? He's the guy that planted the trees and had a couple of ponds out in his place. Did he have?
I suppose something like that. And then, of course, they took her in because they needed help because, Max was just born. And then, of course, my father, he came to Grand Island, and then there was a couple brothers a little ways north. Well, he was my grandfather, great-grandfather, started the bakery in Germany, and he handed it down to his son. That was my grandfather, Papa's dad. And see, that's the way. Over that, I think it's still going. Over 300 years, it's lived with a sheer family.
Where's the bakery now?
In Germany.
Oh, in Germany, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, where did you come from in Germany?
I don't know now, just exactly where.
Was it near where Karsten and the Bosselmans came from? No. Okay.
But Papa came from Elmthorn, I think, or Hohenstein.
Yes.
There's that book he had.
Oh, okay, that's it, okay.
And he had everything written down in there.
Yeah, okay.
And then, of course, Papa was supposed to take over then, you know. He went to 2 bakery schools, went there for 2 or 3 years. And then there was a lot of them coming over here. I suppose was trouble with Russia again. But then it's German, and M's and U's look alike. The English letters, I could read it there.
Yeah.
And see, my brother had just passed away, and he took over after Papa went away. And she brought me that whole big box of all kinds of photos.
Oh, that's
and everything.
Great. That's great.
And, well, I'm the only one left yet of our family.
Yeah.
And after I'm gone, those pictures ain't going to see. Papa was the oldest of the family. And then he had a brother, William. He was a farmer. And then he had a sister. And then his mother passed away, I think, with childbirth. So then Grandpa remarried, and then there was a whole bunch of half-brothers and half-sisters. Well, see, they wouldn't mean nothing to my family then.
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't. So that's the last batch over there, eh? Okay. Tell me a little about what you, how you remember the Bosselmans early on. The three kids. Well, there are four of them. Charlotte was the oldest that I'm talking about. Then there was Charles. You remember Charles, of course.
Yeah.
That's Charles Jr. That's you probably knew his father better than you knew Charles.
Well, we didn't really associate much with him.
Okay.
And so I really can't. But then when I went to Worm School, then I had to go here, you know. And then we had, Otto and I, we always drove a little pony in a buggy, and we went. And then in the spring, then Otto had to help in the field. Then I had to walk them 3 miles.
Yeah.
Then I had to take the cattle to the north pasture, and then I would walk down this road. Well, then Stratman's was the first place in Kaisersman. They went to the District 28. That goes right on the corner here of our land.
Yeah, okay.
And then I walked with them. Then it was just that little end then into words, so it wasn't too much of a walking.
No.
Well, then I walked with the Bosselman boys then.
Yeah. So you were a little older than the Bosselman boys, so weren't you?
I'm 95.
I know, you look great, too. I mean, my mother died when she was 96 or 97, and she was right there, right to the end. It's just great, yeah.
Well, now my brother, he would have been 92 now, the 23rd of this month, if he'd have lived that long, but he just passed away now.
Yeah.
And he lost his arm when he was 4 years old in a cream separator.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that night when that happened.
Oh, gosh, yes. Well, you knew Charles, the father of the kids, then probably better than you knew the kids in the Bosselman family, didn't you?
Well, not too much, really.
He was an invalid the last part of his life. Remember that?
Yeah, I kind of think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, you see, they just associated more kind of in groups, you know, and the Bosselmans never was in on with our group.
Okay, so you didn't know them too well, actually.
Not too well. I just knew them, and that was it.
Yeah.
Well, Lily and Mrs. Bosselman, Mrs. Charlie Bosselman.
Yeah.
We started the extension club. And she had that over to her house, and I still belong to it.
And what extension club is that? What's it called?
Cherry Center.
Cherry Center Extension Club? And it's a group of farm wives and women? And what do you guys talk about? Food and cooking?
Well, we get lessons.
Okay.
From the county, then.
Okay.
Then they have to give them one thing.
And then they talk about nutrition, food, that sort of thing?
All kinds of things.
Sewing, homemaking, that sort of thing?
All kinds
And you
of
still belong to that club? It's called, okay, we got it. That's good. That's good. Is that what you're going to do this afternoon? No, you're going to the Bible study.
Bible study.
Okay. That goes in connection with the church down here, right? Okay. Did you go into the church for that?
Yeah.
How long have you belonged to that club?
Oh, there ain't too many of them go to it. The last time I think there was only 2.
Yeah.
I sat here, and Dolores always stops and takes me along.
Yeah.
And she's working at Skagway's now, and she had to work that day.
Yeah.
So she told Reverend there that should give me. Well, then he went and told Mrs. Harold here, and she didn't go that day. And here I sat and I waited and waited, and didn't come and didn't come. And then I waited till 4 o'clock, and then I finally changed my clothes.
Yeah.
And then Sunday now I seen Dolores, and I said, Dolores, are you coming now? She says, yeah, I'm taking that day off.
Yeah.
I'm coming. I'm taking you.
That's good. That's good. The boys were talking about a teacher in the Lutheran school here that they had a lot of admiration for. Frazee or
Freida, yeah.
Frazee, all right. You know him? You remember him?
I went to school to him.
All right. Tell us about him a little bit.
I didn't like him.
You didn't like him?
He was awful strict.
He was always very strict. He was your schoolmaster too then, right?
Yeah, he was my
20 years earlier than the Bosselman boys.
Yeah.
Okay. He had you knuckle under, huh?
Yeah.
What did he do? He made you work pretty hard, eh?
Well, I tell you, if you got late,
yeah,
you had to stand at the door and wait until a certain time, and then you could sit down. And then there was them steam boys. They'd come and they'd come late. There was 3 boys. And they had to stand there, and that one of them, he got sick and he vomited on the floor. He had to clean that up.
How does he spell his name? S-T... Steam, did you say?
Stephen.
Oh, Stephen. S-T-E-V-E-N.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And there's the 3 boys there.
There was 3 boys, yeah. Well, then one time I got sick, and I was supposed to, after dinner it was, and we had to get up and recite. I got up, and when I got up, that just this whole room went around and around and around, and my stomach was stirring, and I didn't know whether I dared to go out or not. I thought I might get licking, but I couldn't see to walk out. And he stopped his finger, and then you had to sit down. So I sat down, and then the state was in back of me, and she spoke to me, and she said, Freida, why don't you go out? And I says, I can't see. And my roommate wasn't there, seatmate wasn't there that day. So Haley says, Freida, move over and then follow the wall out. So I did. When I got outside, then I thought, now how am I going to get down them steps? So I sat down and slid down. And then I thought, I won't get no vomit here. I'll have to clean that up. So I managed to get to the toilet down the toilet.
And you saved it till you got to the toilet, eh? All right.
And then one time in my roommate, seatmate, we had our geography seen in the seat that filled. And I had my pencil box sitting up on the top there. And my seatmate, she pushed moved hers and knocked my pencil box down. And I should have put my hand up because it was my pencil box, but I didn't knock it down. Now, who should have done it? The roommate or who? I thought Gussie should do it.
Okay, so the schoolmaster was quick with the rod, was he?
Well, then he came around to the back. Then he come there, he pulled my ear. And I thought, oh, I didn't do that, though.
All right. How many kids were there in your class when you were going to school?
When I went, there was 81.
81 total in Zion Lutheran School?
The whole school.
The whole school, okay.
Yeah, we just had that one big school at that time. And then afterwards, then they built another little one, and they had the
little kids.
The smaller ones,
I just came from the cemetery down near the church, and I noticed that they have the infants and the youngsters buried in the front of the cemetery, and then the older people, of course, in the back. Did you notice that? You know, is that a custom here, or what?
Well, I really don't know. I had just one girl. She only lived a night and a day, and she was just big, just right over.
Yeah, well, evidently there's a section for the children there, the infants.
I think they finally made it.
Yeah,
that
and
most of them have it that way.
yeah, I think so. That's a common. I think it's a common thing. I'm not sure. Okay. What else? Let's go back. Let's see. You were a young girl in the 1900s, 1910.
1919 is when I moved here. I got married.
Okay, you got married, and you were what? How old were you when you got married?
Oh, 18, 19, 17.
All right, that's usual, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, we lived on the farm, you know.
Yeah.
And
And you married.
I had to always drive the stacker team.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother Otto, he got married.
Mm-hmm.
And he was with us, and we were putting up the last hay.
Mm-hmm.
And he was living in with us. And then my brother Julius, he says, "Sis, you don't have to drive the stacker team. We can each take our own load up." And, and so then I didn't go along then that time. But then that night, Otto and Mamie, they wanted to go to her uncle to a birthday, to the Wellers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was that was the last load up, the stack. And he drove it up too fast and knocked Papa off of the stack.
Oh my gosh.
And well, we went to Wellers that night, and then he complained. He was telling about painting. Someone told him to go to Kansas to some place there that he could. So the next morning, he left for Kansas. That's all we knew. We didn't know where he went. Didn't have no.
Yeah.
And we didn't hear from him. And that was during the war, and you didn't dare to talk German, or you was a Hun.
Yeah. This is World War I. You bet.
Yeah. And on the train, then with a guy, Papa could see he was German. They sitting together. They kind of talked together. They really had it in for them, too.
Sure.
And they kind of mistreated them all the while.
Yeah.
We didn't hear from them for almost 2 weeks. And all at once in the evening, we got a telephone call. Mama should come to the hospital right away. Papa, he was a real thin, skinny man. He was bloated way up, ready to burst.
Yeah.
They had to make surgery right away. And they made an opening in the side. And so then, of course, Mama, she stayed in town then, so she could go there.
This was in Kansas?
No.
Here in Grand
Island.
In Grand Island, yeah, okay.
And Mama stayed at her aunt's sister's. And then, of course, Mama was supposed to try and look for a place. Well, she never did anything like that. She didn't have no idea what to do.
Yeah.
So at sister's neighbor, so the next day says, we're going to go to California, and you can just move into our house. We'll just leave it the way it is, everything. And we'll come back in the spring. By that time, you can have a house found. And so that's the way it went.
Now, who moved into that house? You?
Mom and Papa and
I
and Nemo.
Yeah, okay. Your family. Okay.
Yeah.
That was before World War I, though, wasn't it?
Sure. Well, maybe just at that time or somewhere around that time.
Yeah, okay.
And then we had snow, and I had was supposed to scoop the sidewalk off. And that morning, why, Emo just had that one arm, you know.
Yeah.
And I was just gotten my sick time that morning, and I didn't. And at home, I dressed up real warm, and I didn't want to dress like that in town. And I didn't want to go out. And then Papa, he got kind of mad. He said, "A sick man has to go out now and scoop that sidewalk off." Well, I didn't want him to go out there, so I went out there and I scooped that off. And then when I was out there, then Aunt Shisler came out and stopped sweeping her sidewalk. So I went and scooped her sidewalk off.
Well, you scooped everybody's sidewalk off, huh?
I scooped hers off, and then I was about ready to, and then between us and Gibbs was a snowdrift. That deep on the sidewalk, I had to scoop that through. So while I was at that, little Jimmy Gibbs came out. So I scooped their sidewalk off.
You took care of everybody then, eh?
Yeah, and then that night I was sick.
I'll bet you were. I'll bet you were. Okay, we're all right here. Let's go back to the Reverend Schroeder. Do you remember him?
No, I really don't remember him so much.
Okay. Okay. You remember Karsten, of course, and Mrs. Bosselman, and you remember the kids, but they were a lot younger than you.
Yeah.
So you didn't play with them, or didn't?
Well, we kind of played together.
Yeah.
But
And you married Reinhard Shipman.
Yeah.
And you had one daughter, and is she alive now?
Huh?
Your daughter.
She only lived a night and a day.
Oh,
and
that's
I
right.
didn't
Okay.
carry any of my children the full length of time.
Okay. All right. So you have no children now either.
3 boys.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and Leonard's gone.
Yeah.
I met him, but then Donald's here and Edwin lives over there.
Yeah.
And then Edwin, he lives alone. He has lost his wife.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough. What do you have over here? Do you have some early books?
Huh?
Do you have some early books over here? An early book or something? What is this that you have here?
Well, that is Papa's ledger. He had everything written down.
Can I look at it?
You want to take a look? I don't care.
All right. Thank you. Let me check this out.
He felt sorry for her.
Felt sorry for the widow of Adolf Bosselman, yeah.
And he had saved up $200. And then he told Grandpa, I wish I could buy a place and give her a home. And so Grandpa gave him $1,000. So Mr. Weiser, that is another section in between next that.
Yeah.
And then that was just a cross. See, that was the government here, and then that was the timber claim.
Okay.
And Mr. Weiser, he had planted all those trees and everything there, fruit trees and all kinds of stuff. And he was a sickly man. And so Papa bought that place then. And he bought then the government ground at cost, and he built it right up on the corner.
Okay.
And then when Papa went over there then and was going to ask her if he had a walk, I guess. And when he come back, then Grandpa says, well, how did you turn out? Somebody else beat me to it, he said.
Oh, he was looking to buy some place for the widow of Adolf.
Buy a place so he could
go to have her.
Give her a home.
Yeah. Did he want to marry her then, do you think?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
he wanted to.
But somebody else beat him to it?
Yeah.
Oh.
That was right at Stab.
Who was it?
Right at Stab.
Oh.
See, there was 3 Shipman brothers came across. And they took a timber claim right over there next to them, John Bosselman.
Okay.
And then Reinhardstad, they had to plant all those trees, you know.
Yeah.
Then Reinhardstad, he thought he wanted a timber claim of his own, so he took this place.
Yeah.
And then he lived in a cave. Well, he went over there and he beat Papa too.
And Papa got himself a nice bride, but he inherited a couple of children, eh?
And then Papa says, I have to have a cook now.
Yeah, okay.
See, Mama was 16 then at that time. And so Grandpa went to the steps and he called up, Anna, come down.
Yeah.
And then he told her what happened. You want to be a cook for him, and so they got married. They lived happily ever after.
Well, that's good.
And then that was at their place now. books all about it.
That's great. That's
where I grew up and everything.
Yeah.
Well, and then I'll never forget the night though when Eno lost his arm in the cream supper.
Oh, yeah, that's got to have been pretty bad.
He was only 3 years old. And I was 7. Abba was 9. And Julius was 12. It was a blizzard outside, pitch dark. And everything hand-labored, no machinery, anything. And they had Holstein cows. No, they don't have rich milk, you know, but then the milk cans, I can still see them. They was this tall, and they had glass on the side, and then they let it sit to get the cream to come up. Mama had to scoop label that cream off with a scoop ladle. Well, that was a tiresome job. They would milk quite a few cows. So then Papa finally bought a cream separator. Oh, Mama was so tickled. Well, the first ones didn't have no shield around.